Hey everyone, welcome back to the Daily Trust channel. Today we are diving into a really fascinating and frankly pretty wide piece of history that often gets glossed over: how the British managed to conquer the massive Sokoto Caliphate in northern Nigeria in what felt like just a few weeks. Seriously, this was a huge, powerful empire, and the British just swooped in. How did they pull that off? Now let's break it down. So, picture this. It's the late 19th, early 20th century. The Sokoto Caliphate is this enormous Islamic empire stretching across what's now northern Nigeria, part of Niger, Cameroon, and Benin. Founded in the early 1800s by Usman Dan Fodio. It was a thriving hub of trade, scholarship, and powerful emirates. But by 1903, it was all under British control. The main military campaign, especially the capture of the Caliphate, Sokoto, happened in this incredibly short burst. It's almost unbelievable, right? The first, and honestly, the biggest reason for this rapid conquest was overwhelming technological superiority. The British weren't playing by the same rules anymore. They brought the future of warfare, and the Caliphate was still largely fighting with traditional methods. The Maxim gun. This thing was a game changer. An early machine gun. It could unleash a hail of bullets in seconds. Imagine facing waves of infantry or brave cavalry charges with spears and swords, only to be mowed down by one of these. It wasn't just a battle, it was a slaughter. Traditional massed attacks, which had been effective for centuries, became suicide. Then there was artillery. The Caliphate cities like Kano were heavily fortified with strong mud bricks walls. These were impressive, designed to withstand sieges. But against British field guns and mountain guns, those walls just crumbled. Their main defensive strategy was literally blown away. And let's not forget individual firearms. The British soldiers, primarily the West African Frontier Force, were equipped with modern rifles, accurate, long-range, and reliable. The Caliphate's forces often had older, less effective Dane guns, or relied on spears, bows, and arrows, many of which were poisoned, but still no match for rifle fire from a distance. Beyond the tech, the British also capitalized on the strategic and political weakness of the Caliphate itself. Now, don't get me wrong, the Sokoto Caliphate was a powerful entity, but it wasn't a single unified state. Think of it more like a federation of many emirates. This decentralized structure meant that the emirs often had their own rivalries and didn't always act in concert. In fact, some emirs even saw the British as a potential ally against a local rival, which, looking back, was a huge miscalculation. There's a classic example when the British moved on the heavily fortified city of Kano, one of the most important cities. Its emir and his army were actually away on campaign, ironically paying homage to the new sultan in Sokoto. This left Kano incredibly vulnerable, and the British just walked right in. Finally, let's talk about British military strategy itself. Led by figures like Frederick Lugard, they weren't just randomly attacking. They had a clear plan. Their strategy focused on targeting key cities. By capturing the capitals of major emirates like Kano and then Sokoto, they caused a massive ripple effect. The fall of these symbolic and administrative centers often led to the quick submission of surrounding territories. There was also a strong element of psychological warfare. The brutal efficiency of the British military, especially with those Maxim guns, had a demoralizing effect. Stories of entire armies being mowed down spread quickly, often intentionally breaking the will to resist. The public is a cushion of wounded soldiers, a horrific practice, was meant to instill terror and deter further opposition. And after the conquest, Lugard introduced his famous policy of indirect rule. Instead of trying to govern directly, the British would defeat an emir, and if he submitted, he could keep his position, but now under the authority of a British district officer. This was genius in its own way. It prevented prolonged guerrilla warfare and rebellion by co-opting the existing power structure, rather than completely dismantling them. So, let's quickly recap the timelines of this intense period in 1903. In January, the British force under Colonel Thomas Morland begins its march north. In February, Kano falls within minimal resistance. In March, the decisive Battle of Sokoto, the Caliph's army, despite massive numbers, is crushed by military firepower. Sokoto falls on March 15th. While in July, though resistance continued for a bit, the deposed Caliph Atahiru is killed at the Battle of Bomi, effectively ending organized resistance. So while the conquest felt like it took just weeks, especially the main military phases, it was actually the combination of years of British maneuvering and a perfect storm of factors: unmatched military tech, a strategically decentralized enemy, and a cunning political and military strategy. It is a stark reminder of how rapidly power dynamics could shift during the age of empire. What do you guys think? Were you surprised by how quickly this happened? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more history breakdowns, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.